The Splunk legal team requires that we share the following. As you might expect, we'll be making forward-looking statements about our business and financial performance during the course of this presentation. Those statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that are described in our filings with the SEC. Please welcome Senior Vice President and General Manager, Products and Technology, Tom Casey.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to day 2 of conf24. It is so great to be back with all of you, our customers and our partners again. It's been an amazing year of innovation at Splunk, and we've got a lot to share on the stage today. It has also been a year of a tremendous amount of change. We are now living in the AI era, and as Gary talked about yesterday, this creates both opportunity for all of us and challenges as well. And a big question is how we navigate this effectively to take advantage. And the answer, like with almost any major transformation in our lives, is we need greater resilience. That requires us to go, interesting noise in the background, isn't it? Requires us to drive change in our environments quickly. We need to catch issues while they're small so that we can focus our work. We need to have stronger analytics that we can bring to bear so we can find new opportunities as well. All of this requires broad and deep visibility into the environments that we're operating in and demands greater efficiency and productivity from each of us. And this is exactly what Splunk delivers. We've been doing this for a long time for customers like HSBC, one of the world's largest banks. Also, a winner of the Splunky Award yesterday, so congratulations to them again and all the winners. HSBC is processing more than 60 billion events per day from more than 150 different data sources in their company. More than 50 teams inside of HSBC are using security and observability built with Splunk, and they're focused on reducing their mean time to resolution and also reducing the scope of impact of things so they can recover quicker and focus on new value creation in the organization, something we all want to do. Intel's another great example. Several years ago, they replaced a legacy SIEM with Splunk to try to achieve better visibility and a common work surface within the SOC. They're now able to respond to incidents in minutes, where before it could take hours in some cases. But maybe more importantly for them, their analysts and their data scientists now have a shared pool of data and the time to go search for new insights and optimizations in their threat hunting. And finally, I want to highlight BMW. They're addressing complex manufacturing issues and production quality issues in their environment. They're focused on improving the reliability of their production experiences. And one of the things I love about Conf and our approach here in talking about the product is not only do we let the product speak for itself, but we let you do that. So you're going to hear from a lot of customers on stage today. And you're also going to have an opportunity to hear directly from BMW in a breakout session later today as well. They'll be talking about the future of smart factory automation, using Splunk's analytics, as well as supervised machine learning in their environment. Their session's entitled Unlocking Manufacturing Potential. I encourage you to check it out if you're interested and want to hear more in that area. For these and for all of our customers, Splunk's unified security and observability solutions are parts of the key to their resilience. And increasingly, security and observability from Splunk run on a unified data platform. Now, yesterday, you also heard that that platform is increasingly powered by Splunk AI, focusing on elevating your productivity and helping you spend your time where you need to and spend it well. And today, you're going to hear how we're changing the game around how you manage data with Splunk, how we're bringing together metrics, events, logs, and traces so that it is more manageable for you in an increasingly federated and distributed environment. Now, everything we talk about today is guided by our product vision, which is here. It's to provide the visibility and the insights that you need across your entire digital footprint to power the actions that keep your systems safe and reliable, and also, frankly, maybe most importantly, to allow you to focus on creating new value, being more agile, and creating more velocity for yourself and your organizations. And when I say entire digital footprint, I mean the whole thing. It's not just about managing the applications, the devices, the infrastructure. It's also about reaching into the networks, the endpoints, the cloud services that you use as well, and understanding all of that. Lateral movement in your network, it occurs within your network. But if I'm talking about a service degradation in my customer experience because of increased latency that's suddenly spiking in my environment, well, that could be coming from anywhere. It could be coming from the application, from my own network, from the public internet, or my CSPs or a third-party service. To be most resilient, we have to see the whole picture. And with Cisco, now we can. And this is really exciting because we get access to data and insights that we really never had full access to before. We're bringing together networking leadership from Cisco, cloud visibility, endpoint, and other data insights from lower in the stack, right with Splunk, in the SOC, in your observability regions, your zones, and your practices as well. And that will absolutely revolutionize resilience in your organizations. And joining me now to talk a little bit more about how we're going to do that is Executive Vice President and General Manager of Cisco's Security and Collaboration Products, my friend Jeetu Patel. Jeetu. There he is.
How are you, buddy?
I am great. It is so good to see you. Hey, it's a special day today.
It is my first time at .conf, but I have to tell you, I'm a little nervous.
Little nervous? You're extra nervous for a reason,
I'm extra nervous for a reason today because in my life, this is the first time that my better half, Jyoti, is going to be watching me in the audience do a keynote.
Woo! So to echo Chuck,
yeah.
Don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up. And at 5 p.m., regardless of how I do, I'm going to be getting a feedback session. So.
Well, it is also a special day. I know you don't want a big deal about it, but it is also Jeetu's birthday today.
Oh, stop.
So we threw a little party. We decorated the place. We got you a pony and a whole company. So I think we're in pretty good shape here. So look, Chuck and Gary spent some time yesterday talking about the bigger picture. We thought we could spend a little bit of time talking to everybody today, in particular about how Splunk and Cisco together can really define the future of the SOC, or redefine the future of what the SOC looks like, and move the security industry. So what are your thoughts?
So we are so excited, firstly. As we talked about yesterday as well, security is a data problem. And the amount of visibility that we can provide between Cisco and Splunk together is actually unparalleled. Now, if you think about Cisco itself, our core business started with networking. And you couldn't really be a great connectivity company if you weren't actually protecting the data that was flowing through your network. So it would be incomplete to be a networking company if you weren't a security company. And it would be an incomplete motion to be a security company if you didn't have the right data associated with it. So there's a very, very logical synergy over here as you move through it. And the way that I think about this is, imagine for a moment we live in an all-encrypted world that the attacker is already in your system. And the name of the game is preventing lateral movement. Now the question is, where does lateral movement happen? It happens on the network. Yep. And so we need to make sure that we can contain lateral movement on the network in an effective way and actually have deep hooks into the infrastructure with security and actually tie in very closely with Splunk. So we're really excited about the possibilities. And I think we've got a limitless level of possibilities as we move forward.
Yeah, and I think you and I are both really excited for the future about our
For
ability to kind of take action a little bit closer to the edge too. We'll come back to that in a minute, but maybe level set for people, Jeetu, on Cisco's security product portfolio. I mean, it is amazing now to be inside of Cisco and look at the amount of innovation that's taking place, the amount of software assets in addition to hardware. So in the Cisco security portfolio, there's a ton of value around user cloud and breach. You want to talk a little bit about that?
There is, and by the way, one of the things that we've seen, like if you look at a macro level, what's happening in the security industry, there's about 3,500 vendors in this market. On average, most companies have between 50 to 70 vendors in their cybersecurity stack. And frankly, it's untenable to maintain that level of complexity because that's 50 to 70 different policy engines, that's 50 to 70 different places where contention can occur in policies. So there's a fundamental kind of rethink that needs to be had to reimagine security in this new age, especially where you have to deal with security at machine scale, not at human scale, given the sophistication of attackers as well. So what we did about 2 years ago was we announced this capability, or we actually re-platformed our entire set of capabilities. Cisco used to be like a holding company. We used to have a bunch of small little products that weren't really tied together. And what we wanted to do was make sure that we provided an integrated platform. So we started the building work. And Tom Gillis, you here? Stand up for a second. That's Tom Gillis. He runs our security business.
He gets all the questions during Q&A, just so you know.
And we actually started this journey around saying, let's build an integrated platform that we call the Cisco Security Cloud, which solve for 3 key problems. How do you protect a user? How do you protect cloud and cloud infrastructure? And how do you protect against a breach and make sure that you can have detections in near real time, and not just detections, response and remediation in near real time. And now with Splunk, that gets completely supercharged because you actually have a set of data that we just never had before. And the way I think about security is the one who has the most amount of data that's the most effectively correlated is the one that can best detect breaches and threats and help keep the world safe.
For sure, because you don't know how they're going to evolve, and that ability to go analyze and threat hunt is critical. I think there's some cool stuff, that ability to go kind of down at the edge, snapshot immediately to get an image of what's occurring if you think there's a potential threat there. There's tremendous value in breach protection, user and cloud protection, and it's all a great complement to Splunk. So that data from the security cloud can flow into Splunk and give better longitudinal visibility in the SOC. But I think we get to make a little announcement here today as well about some of the early integration the teams are doing and something else that's new and coming. So do you want to tee that up and talk a little bit about how we enrich the content for threat management?
Yeah, so we have a threat intelligence service that many of you might have heard of called Talos. And Talos actually processes about 550 billion security events daily, right? And what we wanted to do was make sure that we can enrich Splunk with Talos data across the entirety of the Splunk portfolio. So Attack Analyzer, ES, as well as SOAR, all should have Splunk enriched, all should have Talos enriched data so that you can make sure that you can more effectively process and analyze the data for emerging threats that are occurring in the market. So I am delighted to announce that we have announced this integration today, and you will actually see this come out over the course of the next few months. Talos is fully going to be integrated with Splunk, and all of the data from Talos will be enriched in Splunk so that you can have a far better ability to go out and do detections and compress the time for investigation.
That's fantastic. And I think, one of the things Jeetu and I, we both have pretty high energy and we want to move fast on things, and we're pretty proud of the teams for moving quickly on a whole set of integrations. This is just the start of something, but you got to start and build momentum, and we feel like we're getting some momentum, so that's great. Hey, at the end of the day, we get all this additional signal from the security cloud, we get from integration with Talos, we're going to reach down into like Thousand Eyes and bring in signal from there as well. So what do we think this signal does broadly for customers from a customer value perspective when you think about the outcomes that they get again?
That's a great question, because one of the challenges that we have and we've had in the past is if you go back to this notion of lateral movement and containing lateral movement, it's impractical to take all of the network telemetry and ingest it into a single location. And so what we have to do is make sure that we can actually filter that telemetry in some way and only provide, rather than providing high volume, low fidelity telemetry into a SIM, what we want to do is make sure that we can provide high fidelity, low volume telemetry into a SIM so that there's better detections.
That's right.
So our product XDR, which essentially correlates data across every single control point, email, endpoint, web, network, we can actually correlate that data so that if you have low-level alerts that otherwise you would have missed, you can now correlate them so that it graduates to a high-level alert that you can actually take action on.
And then I think additionally about XDR working kind of on real-time detections, a little bit lower in the stack. And it's a fantastic complement then to what's happening within the SIM and enterprise security, because we take that signal from those detections, flow that up, you now get a longitudinal view across an extended period of time in the SOC. And then one of the other things that Tom Gillis, Mike Horn, the rest of the security teams are working on is how can we take some of that threat intelligence we gain in the SOC and then enrich those detections lower in the stack?
That's exactly.
So that's just the start of one of the future things I think we're excited about in the complement. But we've made another announcement at Cisco in the last couple of months here, and that was the announcement of HyperShield. Do you want to kind of tee that up for folks about what that is, and then you and I will try not to get too excited about the future for that one?
Yes, I'll quickly tee it up because I think this actually has a very consequential architectural implication for how the world's evolving as well. If you think about the way that the world is evolving today, it's getting to be a hyper-distributed architecture rather than a completely monolithic architecture. So gone are the days, of course, of three-tiered and every application tier tying to a piece of hardware. You've got thousands of microservices that are running on hundreds of pieces of Kubernetes clusters and containers and pieces of hardware. And it's very hard to do 2 or 3 things in this architecture compared to the way that we used to do it in the past. Segmentation is extremely hard today. It used to be pretty easy to go out and segment when a piece of application ran on a very dedicated
it runs everywhere
hardware.
now.
But now you have to make sure that you completely reimagine segmentation. And imagine if you could have fully autonomous segmentation that could adjust based on the behavior of the application. So that's the one problem that we solve in a very, very unique way with HyperShield. The second big problem that we solve is patching is really hard, and especially for critical infrastructure. The amount of time it takes for an exploit to occur from the time that you've announced a vulnerability is about 3 days. And it's getting down to hours and minutes, right? But the amount of time it takes to patch a vulnerability is anywhere between 22 and 49 days. So you've got this window where you're exposed as an organization, but you need to make sure that you can figure out a way to shield that vulnerability so that you don't have that exposure. And that's another area that we solve with this capability called distributed exploit protection. And then the third area is, if you all think about your iPhones today, do you worry about what operating system it's running? No, because it just updates the operating system at night, right? But that's not how infrastructure works. Updating infrastructure is really hard.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've made sure that we can actually have, gone are the days where you had to have a sandbox environment, you had to test out how your firewalls work, and then update it twice a year, once on 4th of July, once on Christmas.
You can do it live now.
You can do it live, in line, and you can have 2 parallel data paths and actually do a diff at the end and know that, hey, version 1 and version 2 are behaving very normal, so we can now graduate to version 2 from version 1, and all of this can happen autonomously. So these things provide a hyper-distributed architecture. You take security, you break it into thousands of piece parts, and you bring it in front of the workload rather than moving the workload to security.
That's right.
And then ideally, what also happens then is you can move the analytics to the workload and to the data, rather than actually having the analytics centrally moved.
Yeah, and we can go even a step beyond that, and this is one of the things I get really excited about as well, that ability to get all that signal. So HyperShield acts not as a fence, but as a fabric that sits out there, right? And if you have that distributed fabric, it not only becomes a place that we can get better signal and more detection, but we can also start to push more action down with locality, the point of ingress from a user and a device. And so you can do things like quarantine earlier, snapshot earlier, even start overlogging certain sessions on a network because Tom or Jeetu becomes a person or a device of interest in the environment. I mean, the possibilities here around the connectedness of the SOC or your SREs into the network fabric to take action, it has tremendous potential.
It is truly magical. And so I'm really excited about all the potential we have, because we don't have overlapping technologies between security and what Splunk does, but they're very complementary. And 1 + 1 isn't 3, it's actually 11. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun to
I should have worn my
We
Go to 11 shirt. We do have We Go to 11 shirts. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
All right, Jeetu, well, fantastic.
Can I just wrap up with one last thing for this team? Great products get built by good companies, but movements get created by communities. And one thing that you folks should know about Cisco is we appreciate the passion with which, over the course of the past 20 years, this community has built this data movement. And I just want to commit to you, we are not going to screw up Splunk. We're going to get it way, way better than where we are right now. But more importantly, we're going to make sure that we nurture this community, because this is the heart and soul of Splunk. It's all of you that actually should be really proud of this amazing movement that you've created in the industry that we're just going to take larger and scale it to 8 billion people on the planet. So thank you again for having us, and we are so excited to make sure that we can work with each one of you.
Thank you, Jeetu. Appreciate you. All right. So look, as you can tell, we're pretty excited about what the future holds, but we're also being incredibly practical in delivering direct integration that is of value for you. And as Jeetu said, the technology sets here and the products are highly complementary, not only in security, but as you'll hear later today, in observability as well. So we're very excited about what the future holds. All right, we are moving quickly on integrating our products across the board. You've seen a lot of announcements in the press over the last couple of weeks, RSA, Cisco Live, and you'll hear some more today. But I want to be super clear as well. We are not missing a beat on our innovation agenda. And one of the places that required innovation is around data. Data is a differentiator for IT operations, for engineering, and for the SOC analysts. You absolutely cannot secure or optimize what you cannot see. And today, we are changing the game in how you manage telemetry data with Splunk. Among the many innovations that you're going to hear about here on the stage today, Splunk is changing the way you work with telemetry data, metrics, events, logs, and traces. Now, Gary hinted at this yesterday, but today, I'm really pleased to announce new unified and data ingestion capabilities within Splunk. You will be able to ingest data once, metrics, events, logs, and then soon after traces, directly into Splunk, and then feed that into enterprise security and the Splunk Observability Cloud. Make it available to ITSI, and in the future, App Dynamics as well. You can enrich it with all that great signal from the security suite and from Thousand Eyes as we integrate those products and flow that in and get broader visibility across everything you do in the SOC, the NOC, and your IT operations as well. And plus, as you'll hear in a moment, you can even route that data not only to Splunk's applications and services, but also to your data lake as well. That's really important. So I want you to think about these three pillars that underlie our product vision as you're listening to today's presentations and updates in each product area. First, we're helping you get access to the right data. That helps you to see and manage data more effectively, and more importantly, access that high-value operational data, that ad hoc analytics data that you need within Splunk, in Splunk, but also extend your reach out of Splunk to data that we've never seen before when you need to do forensics or other investigative work. We're helping focus on giving you better analytics, as we talked about, assisted by AI directly in the workflow of our products to help speed you along. And getting the right data and the right analytics is all in service of helping you take the right actions faster. So you can catch those issues small, you can get back to the productive work of threat hunting, writing new code, extending and configuring and optimizing your user experiences. Ultimately, all of this is designed to help you be reactive when you need to, but be efficient and effective in doing so, and give you more time to create, to find new value, and to differentiate your companies in the kind of services that you provide to customers and to your employees. Digital resilience with Splunk helps you do both of those things. Now, our vision's clear. We want to bring comprehensive visibility across your entire digital footprint. We want to augment that. We can execute better than ever as part of Cisco, giving you depth of visibility into what's happening into your owned and unowned networks as well. I want you to know, even as we're integrating products here, we are going to continue innovating at a high rate of speed. And to share some of the recent innovations with you and allow our product and our customers to speak to that value, we're going to start off by focusing on brand new platform innovations. I'm excited to welcome to the stage now our Vice President of Product Management for the data platform, Faya Peng. Faya! I apparently don't know where everybody's coming.
Thank you, Tom. I am thrilled to be here for my 9th .conf and to share about our continued innovation in Splunk's unified platform. As Tom mentioned, digital resilience requires accessing the right data. We saw this diagram earlier today, and it's our unified platform for security and observability, and it's the engine for accessing and analyzing the right data so that you can help keep your organization secure and deliver better experiences. And we've seen this be the case with our customers around the world, but to make it more tangible, let's hear from one of our customers right now. I'm excited to welcome Nimesh Bernard, Head of Observability at Fannie Mae. Woo! Welcome, Nimesh.
Glad to be here.
We're so excited for you to be here. Could you start by telling us a little bit more about your role at Fannie Mae?
Absolutely. I manage the observability and monitoring platform at Fannie, and my team takes care of managing the platform. They enhance new features. They take care of the incident management tool, and they develop monitoring as code to integrate and enforce observability standards and guidelines. This is what my team does.
That's awesome. And it sounds like your team is busy, you're busy. Data is also foundational to what you're doing. We would love to hear you talk a little bit more about some of the data management challenges you're facing.
That's a great question. For a business to operate efficiently, we need to make sure that the data is available to our stakeholders. When I talk about stakeholders like a business operations team, the command center team, and the developers, the challenge we have is data is siloed, and we are not able to contextualize the data for the user. The various types of data types I'm talking about is CMDB data, business critical SLAs, infrastructure and application data, traces, metrics, and logs. Because of this challenge, our mean time to detect and mean time to resolve is not where we want it to be. And it was expensive to maintain data resiliency. And also, we have to come up with innovative ways to mitigate data loss. So this was the challenge we had at Fannie.
Yeah, and data silos are a common challenge we hear about. Another one that we also hear customers talk about is wanting to consolidate tools. And I know this is an initiative at Fannie Mae. Can you tell us more about why it's important for you all?
Yes. I can't wait to answer this question. Too many tools is not going to solve our problems. So instead of tools consolidation, we took the route of capability consolidation. So what I mean by that is we say, like, what is the capabilities we have and what do we need? And we analyzed and see how much are we spending managing this capability. And also, what is the overhead cost to manage these platforms? And also, we analyze and see how much time are we spending managing the platform rather than enhancing the features. So after doing all this analysis, we came to an outcome. What we did is we found out that we were able to consolidate the tools without compromising on the capabilities, which is huge for us. And the second thing is we were able to get a return of investment on a licensing cost. And the third is we were able to fit the tools we chose into Fannie Mae's target state architecture, and we were able to consolidate data, which was very important for us. And this is the final thing, you may love it, we were able to improve developer experience. And we worked with multiple teams inside Splunk, the architecture team. A lot of work went into this to be where we are today.
And that's awesome, because I love that you're not just focused on ROI, but also setting up your organization with the right capabilities. I know that teams across Fannie Mae use Splunk. Can you tell us more about the benefits of using the same data across different parts of the organization?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, different stakeholders use the same data. Different personas view data in different ways. So what we did is we created dashboards for different personas, but we created alerts that is relevant for them. Our motto at Fannie Mae is we want to push the data to the user rather than expecting the users to pull the data. Some of the Splunk tools we used is the Observability platform, ITSI, Splunk Cloud, and we use end-to-end transaction tracing to capture the transactions and also send business attributes along with that. At the end of the day, it's all about the business. If a security issue happens, how do we connect that to the business impact? If a latency is happening or a cloud service is down, how do you connect that to a business impact? That's what we worked upon, and it is helping us.
That's amazing, and it's great that you're using the data platform to break down these silos and give your different personas exactly what they need. So last question, I'd love to hear what Fannie Mae is looking to accomplish with Splunk in the future.
Where do I start? I don't know where to start with that because I heard too many things yesterday. First thing is AI. Yesterday, Yav made a great announcement, the private preview. After this meeting, I went and said, we are going to sign up for that. So one of the things we are looking is proactive alerting, adaptive thresholding, auto-healing, remediation recommendations. And one of the final things I want to say before I end this is, with the historical data Splunk has, we want Splunk to predict the health of business. So it helps the business and Fannie Mae to operate efficiently.
And I love how you're leveraging that foundation of data in the unified platform so that you can use AI to accelerate your insights. Well, thank you so much, Nimesh, for your time. We really enjoyed having you here. Everybody, let's give Nimesh another round of applause. Thank you. Well, like Fannie Mae, many of you are facing similar challenges, dealing with a variety of data and how to make that useful for your different stakeholders. Adding to that difficulty, this data is growing exponentially. It's coming in from different cloud providers and legacy systems, and it has different value, all leading to data silos and missed insights. We get it. It can be extremely overwhelming and chaotic, all while you have to balance cyber threat risk, downtime, regulation, and cost. But what if you could create order in the midst of this chaos and actually optimize your data for your use cases? What if we told you that you can be in control of how your data is shaped, stored, and accessed, all while maintaining holistic visibility so that you can optimize your data and your spend for your business? As Tom mentioned, we are changing the game with our new data management and federation capabilities, which will provide you with the choice and end-to-end control of your data. Everything from ingest to filtering, masking, routing, as well as search and analytics. Data management and federation are two pillars that go hand in hand. You cannot have full control with just one of them. It's not enough to shape and route your data if you can't comprehensively search it, no matter where it lives afterwards. And if you access and search your data that's residing outside of Splunk, it's not enough if you can't correlate it with the rest of the data and content that you do have in Splunk. And that's why we're investing in both sides of the equation so that you can make smart and actionable decisions with your data. But that's not all that we're investing in to unlock more value for you and give you more control. In addition to the data management and federation capabilities, we're also integrating AI and ML into your workflows for increased efficiency. And we're giving you the flexibility and choice in how you manage and use Splunk. So let's dive into what this all means. First, we continue to invest in data management with the ability to create and manage pipelines that are powered by SPL2 so that you can filter, mask, and route your data. Last year, we released Edge Processor, which allows you to deploy these pipelines at your network edge. And this gives you greater control over PII data and the volume of data before it leaves your environment. But we've also heard from customers that they would like similar functionality in the cloud so that they don't have to manage the infrastructure. And so I'm very happy to announce the launch of Ingest Processor as part of our next generation data management. This gives you more choice in where you deploy those pipelines. And what's more, Ingest Processor includes the ability to convert logs to metrics and route them to our real-time metrics backend to support your observability and security use cases. But data management alone is not enough. And so I'm also very happy to announce the continuation of our federation offering with the preview of federated analytics. Last year, we released Federated Search so that you can remotely search S3 data from Splunk and correlate it with your Splunk data. And this was a great solution for historical and audit use cases. Now, with Federated Analytics, starting with Amazon Security Lake, you can selectively fetch data from the Security Lake and build it into a short-term index. And this enables higher performance use cases like monitoring and ad hoc investigations. And what's great is this data works with your search and content that you have in Splunk. So for instance, you can use federated analytics to power an enterprise security detection. So how do these federation and data management capabilities work together? Instead of telling you, let's show you. Please welcome Lizzie Lee to the stage.
Thanks, Faya. I'm excited to be here for my 7th .conf and to show you all, thank you, and to show you all the power of our data management and federation capabilities working together. I'm going to play 2 roles here at Buttercup Games. First, as an admin, I have to manage the explosion of data that's coming from my different environments, and I'm already using Edge Processor to do so. This year, Buttercup Games is hosting their newest game on Windows VMs in AWS, and we need to onboard those logs to Splunk. But we want to optimize what we send to Splunk since Windows logs can be voluminous. With Ingest Processor, we can filter and choose what data should reside in Splunk and what can be routed to a long-term storage location like Amazon S3. As you can see here, we are selectively sending Windows Defender logs to Splunk for monitoring and threat detection, while the rest of the network logs will be routed to S3, where they can still be accessed if they're needed later. And that's how I'm able to centrally manage all of my pipelines deployed both at the edge and cloud to optimize my data for my needs. Now that we've onboarded our data, let's talk about what federated access and analytics looks like for a SOC analyst. Well, it looks like our Windows Defender logs have triggered a security alert. So we need to dive a little deeper into this incident. It looks like a user, Phantom Pony's account, has been compromised, and our attackers are trying to cover up their tracks. To help us get a better idea of what's going on, we need to take a look at the logs of the surrounding AWS environment, including CloudTrail and VPC flow logs. What you're looking at here is that my admin has set up Amazon Security Lake as a federated provider, which means I can now use federated analytics to correlate and use those VPC flow logs that are living in Amazon Security Lake with data that's living in Splunk to power my searches and detections. With enterprise security content update detections, I can now track Phantom Pony's tracks. First, I can see that they've disabled multi-factor authentication on our Buttercup Games host. Then, if we look at the VPC flow logs, we can start to see that there's network traffic coming from our internal Windows VMs, going to external IP addresses that are located in China that we have never talked with before. So we can confirm that this account has, in fact, been compromised. Using an adaptive response action combined with SOAR, I can reset this account and thereby remediate this issue. And now, if we look back at our dashboard, everything is looking great. There are no other incidents I need to attend to, so I can now enjoy the rest of my day here at .conf.
Woo. Well, that was amazing to see how the data management and federation capabilities give you the flexibility and choice to optimize your data.
Definitely, and I hope this helped everyone see how these are really 2 pillars that have to work hand in hand.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. Let's give her another round of applause. But we're not stopping there with the platform innovations. You heard yesterday from Hal that our AI assistant is now officially GA, and it increases the efficiency for both admins and users by integrating into your natural workflows and giving you bidirectional translation between SPL and natural language. And then continuing with our theme of control, we're giving you more control and choice in how you manage and use Splunk. The new workload dashboard preview in the cloud monitoring console provides enhanced visibility into your license usage, and the new overview dashboard preview enables you to personalize your experience with metrics that you care about. We're also giving you increased control in managing your business continuity with the early access of cross-region disaster recovery. This allows your Splunk cloud service to be operational within minutes of a regional outage. We're also introducing a gold standard for technology add-ons with improved visibility and quality. And we've started releasing these for our most popular TAs as well as Cisco sources. And last but not least, we're providing more choice in how and where you deploy your Splunk environment. With the Splunk on Azure preview, we're moving towards availability on all 3 major cloud service providers for Splunk Cloud Platform, as well as for enterprise security and ITSI. As you can see, we're making improvements so that you have more choice and control of your data. I invite you to learn more about these announcements through demos, workshops, and sessions like the ones on ingest processor and federated analytics. And now I'd like to welcome Mike Horn, SVP and GM of Security, to the stage.
Thank you, Faya. It is great to be here again at Conf. This is one of my favorite events of the year. And I can't wait to tell you about all the security innovation that we're going to be delivering throughout the year. When I first joined Splunk, Gary Steele was kind enough to send me this text message. Anything funny about that? I don't think Gary's ever said teleconferencing meeting in his life. So clearly this was not a real text from Gary. And I reported it to the SOC just so that they knew I had gotten it and made sure they had it. And if you think about the SOC and what they deal with every single day, some SOCs have hundreds, if not thousands, of alerts that they're trying to work through and investigate. And when you add in all the complexity from complex and evolving compliance requirements, if you think about what's happening on the threat landscape, the data silos that Faya was just talking about in terms of how all the data is living in different places, and of course, the ever-present challenge of finding and retaining cybersecurity talent. But what if you could empower your teams to have a streamlined investigation experience to more quickly and easily find the threats that matter? We call that the SOC of the future. And we're on a mission to help your teams navigate the overwhelming volume of alerts that you face every day and help you find and mitigate those threats. It all starts with enterprise security. And over the years, we've won a number of different awards across our security products and have been recognized as market leaders. And in case you didn't hear, I'm excited to share that we are named the Gartner Magic Quadrant leader for the 10th time. This is a huge deal, and I want to thank all the Splunkers who worked really hard to help make this happen. This is not an easy feat. So now let's hear from one of our customers that's using these Splunk security products, United Airlines. Please help me welcome Sean Mason from United Airlines to the stage. Thank you, Sean, for being here. It's great to spend some time. I wish I had an intro video like that. I was telling Sean earlier. I also did fly United to get here.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you didn't? That would have been awkward, right?
Yeah, that would have been a little, awkward. So maybe Sean, if you could just start by telling us a bit about your role at United.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead cyber defense for United Airlines. So frankly, it's the cool stuff, right? So intel, detect, respond, and it's really about making sure our customers in cargo get from point A to point B safely, right? And the other interesting thing is we have to connect protect our commercial properties, right? So like United.com and our award-winning mobile app.
Yeah, and you were just telling me, all the different threats that things like your website face, and just it's a constant daily battle.
It's literally a daily battle, right? Yeah.
So, and I think your journey with Splunk starts before United.
It did, right? So, and I was doing the math in my head, and I'm starting to date myself, but 10 plus years ago when I was at General Electric, back when we were, Fortune 5 on the Fortune 100 list, right? We were not a small company. We used Splunk, and we used it day in and day out. And I can't tell you how many battles we fought with adversaries, literally almost every day, right? So I loved it back then, and frankly, when I came to United, fast forward, the first phone call I had was to you guys, right? I was like, I know it works, I need that.
Yeah. And what did you have in place already? Like what you mentioned what you walked into.
Yeah, no, it's, and I tell this story and I still don't believe it. And when I walked in, and I joke, I was like the richest person ever. I had 4 SIMs, right? And I even had one SIM, and it was like, well, what goes in there? And they're like, well, the cloud data. I'm like, why does the cloud data go into that SIM, right? Well, it's in the cloud. Right. Frankly, logically, it made no sense, right? So again, first phone call was to Splunk, and I said, look, we need to get our logging visibility strategy, frankly, in a good spot, right? Frankly, I was blind. I couldn't see anything.
I always give your sales rep a hard time that he had the easiest job.
It was easy, yeah,
you called him.
Right?
So I guess tell us a little bit, it's great to hear on some of the mission critical things that you're doing. What are some of the products that you're using to achieve that?
Yeah, so, ES, of course, right? And then SOAR. Probably those are the 2, I'd say, key things that we use just day in and day out, to the point where, I would say Splunk, right? It just kind of rolls off the tongue, right? We have our own vernacular, if you will. But between those 2, it's quite an amazing, we'll say, suite of tools that's really the backbone of my organization. And SOAR, to pick on that for just a moment, we even have a team dedicated to really kind of enhancing and really doing things, we'll say, the United way, right?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you've told me a lot about the customizations and just maybe what's the impact been of having that SOAR solution in place?
Yeah, it's great. So first, I don't know if Mark Cook's in the audience, but I always attribute this word to him. He's like, folks, I think just jump over the O in SOAR, go straight for the automation piece. We absolutely do that, right? So I want to say we started with phishing. I want to say we ended with phishing, but it never ends. So we're constantly working there. But then from an orchestration standpoint, we've done a lot of work just to make sure that we're, I'll say, doing response work correctly. And with the regulatory environment the way it is, we've had to essentially pivot on a dime, especially back in December, for example, when the new SEC cyber rule came out. So the ability to have, we'll say, a very customizable tool that we can just jump in, make changes quickly, and again, make it in a United way.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And I know you've been looking at my baby, Attack Analyzer, the team has.
Yeah, I can tell you. And we first met talking about Attack Analyzer.
That's right.
And I said, I'm like, so it's a sandbox. I already have sandbox. And you're like, no, it's more than that, right? And mea culpa. We've looked at it, and I can tell you, rave reviews, right? It's amazing. And it's more than just a sandbox. And the other nice thing that I love, especially when I look at the product portfolio that I have to manage, it's already integrated into the platform, right? And to me, can I make my folks smarter, faster, and more efficient, right? And Attack Analyzer does that.
Yeah, that's great. And what are some of the things that are top of mind for you? I know you were working on some stuff last night, and there's always something. What's on your mind?
I know it ruined my night in Vegas, right? So anyway, there's always something going on. But I always call them the usual suspects. So, Russia, China, ransomware brokers, initial access or ransomware gangs, initial access brokers. And then we have interesting ones that I don't think people think of. I wouldn't have thought of, but like paparazzi, believe it or not, right? Trying to figure out where's people going from here to there. So there's constantly that, and then throw into the mix, artificial intelligence, AI, right? We're actually seeing that in the wild now, and we're trying to figure out how to deal with that, right? So those are the things that really keep me up at night.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you used to work at Cisco, interestingly enough.
I did. There we
Got
go.
our Cisco contingent up here.
Yeah, a short 6 years. It went by like in a blink of an eye. So before I came to United, I was at Cisco for 6 years. I built and led the Cisco incident response practice, right, working with Talos. Amazing group of men and women there. And I can tell you, I have a very, I'll say, unique perspective, right? Because, Cisco bought Splunk, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I know everything going on there. Instantly was on the phone texting all my friends at Cisco and trying to figure out what's happening, right?
Yeah, that's great. And it's been great so far, all the integration work and things that you and I were just chatting backstage about some of the fun things that are coming and how that gives you unique visibility. So, and I think you also use some other Cisco products like App Dynamics.
We do, yeah, and trust me, we use a lot of products from Cisco. I was just in a renewal conversation. I saw the quote. It was eye-popping.
We got a few folks here that can help.
I need a lot of help, trust me. So yeah, and then maybe it's because it's a shiny new toy, but we just did a huge deal for Tetration, which I think now is Cisco's Secure Workload, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Workload. So
workload, yep.
Point being, we're using that to really kind of help us on our segmentation and zero trust journey. So yeah,
that's great.
Fully embedded.
So, last question, I guess, as you look out on the horizon, kind of longer term, what are the things that are top of mind for you?
Oh my gosh. You said easy questions up here.
I'm-
Okay, all right. And it seems like a theme here, AI, right? Yeah. So, I already just said a minute ago, we're seeing AI attacked in the wild already, right? And honestly, I think that space, from a defender standpoint, it's very nascent. So we're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to combat this stuff? And then on the flip side, I'm going, okay, how can I use AI, which you guys, I'm really excited about this stuff. Yeah. How can I enable my defenders to do this stuff, again, smarter, faster, more efficient, right? I can't hire, I can't attract folks, I can't retain folks at the scale I need to. How can I use AI to help me with this, right?
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you for taking some time. Please help me give Sean a warm send-off. Thank you so much again.
Appreciate it.
So Sean just talked about how United is using many of the security products from Splunk, and he's looking at some new ones. And in order to do threat detection, investigation, response workflows. But we also know that our customers need us to keep innovating in order to keep pace with the threat landscape. So let me show you how these products are getting even better in the coming year. Let's start with Splunk SOAR. Automation is a key component of the SOC. And the next release, Splunk SOAR 6.3, is going to introduce some new features that make it even easier to automate the common tasks that consume precious analyst time. And it adds powerful new features like what you see up here, which are called external user prompts. This extends automation to your non-security users. So imagine if you have a suspicious file upload DLP alert and you need to investigate that. With external user prompts, you're able to send a prompt to the user that generated that alert, have the responses come back directly to the analyst that's investigating, and be able to factor that into the case that you're doing. So it's super powerful, and it'll streamline and save a bunch of time and helps you get to more timely answers. Next up, you heard Sean talk about Splunk Attack Analyzer. And what we hear consistently from folks that are using Attack Analyzer is that it saves them a ton of time and it improves their detection accuracy. And it's a great complement to SOAR because it automates the threat analysis part of the investigation. So you can call it directly from a SOAR playbook and get those results incorporated in. And you can see from this customer quote, it's all about saving time. They're talking about being able to investigate alerts in 5 minutes that used to take much, much longer. Splunk Attack Analyzer is generally available. We announced it last year at Conf. And you can see a demo and learn more in the pavilion. So I highly encourage you to go check that out. Last month at the RSA conference, we introduced an all-new product, Asset and Risk Intelligence. We've all heard the adage that you can't protect what you don't know about. And organizations still struggle with discovering the devices and users that are in their environment. So Asset and Risk Intelligence, or ARI for short, will discover these things automatically from the data sources that you're probably already sending to Splunk. And once we've discovered these assets, we'll integrate those, we'll synchronize those with things like Enterprise Security Asset and Identity Framework, but also with third-party inventories like ServiceNow's CMDB. And once an asset's been discovered, it's continuously updated with new information. So what's the current IP address for that device? Which users are logged in? All sorts of other rich contextual information that analysts need when they're investigating a threat. And it not only does that, but it also tracks compliance metrics. So you're able to identify what's the compliance posture of this particular asset. And then you can map those compliance metrics to common compliance frameworks like NIST and CMMC and others, and you can customize those. So it really helps you get a great view into your compliance posture in your environment. Now, Asset and Risk Intelligence is available as part of an early access program, so check with your sales rep to see if you're eligible, but you can go learn more and see a demo in the pavilion, so I encourage you to do that. Yesterday, you heard Hal talk about the AI assistants, and one of the AI assistants that the team's been working on is the AI assistant in security. Now, and Sean just mentioned he's really excited about what's happening here because he knows it's going to help save them time. The AI assistant in security will be embedded directly into enterprise security, so you'll have that workflow, and it'll include 3 primary capabilities. So first is to be able to summarize a security alert or a notable. The second is to be able to use natural language for doing search. And the third is being able to generate an incident report. So we all know analysts hate writing up these reports of what's all the steps that they took, what were the findings, et cetera. So that auto generation is going to save them a ton of time on work that they don't like to do. You can see a demo and play around with this in the pavilion, so I encourage you to check that one out. And private preview for the AI assistant in security will be available later this summer. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Wait, what about enterprise security? I'm excited to share that the team has been hard at work, and I'm excited to announce that we have a brand new security, Enterprise Security 8.0. And joining me on stage, please welcome Katie Brown.
Hi, folks.
Katie, why don't you you've been a security practitioner for a while, why don't you just give people a little quick background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have over 10 years of experience either working directly in a SOC, incident response, or doing something related. So I have lived and breathed the challenges that I think a lot of folks in the audience face today.
Yeah. And what we're really excited about with enterprise security is that it's combining the mission control investigation experience and bringing that directly into enterprise security, which also includes rich integration between the enterprise security and SOAR, so you get that complete analysis workflow all in one place, as opposed to maybe having to go between a couple of different tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I gotta say that this is probably my favorite version of ES. I've been using ES for a very long time, and this one's really powerful. Having all of the context I need for analysis actually in one spot, game changer.
Well, given how excited you are, why don't we show everybody a demo?
Let's do it. So Mike touched on some major feature upgrades that we're getting with Enterprise Security 8.0, all in the vein of reducing mean time to detect, mean time to respond, and mean time to investigate. So let's start the demo and dive in. We're going to start with a risk-based finding that alerts whenever there's a MITRE attack tactic that exceeds a certain threshold on an individual host. That means there's a lot of bad stuff happening on this asset in a short period of time. By selecting the finding from the drop-down menu, we can now see every single detail about the finding itself. Drill-down searches, related dashboards, adaptive response actions, all in a new, easily navigatable side panel. We can action specifics about the finding itself, like assigning an owner. Not only do we get those insights, but we can also see any automated SOAR playbook action that is run. So as it relates to our finding, we can see that Splunk Attack Analyzer already intelligently extracted and analyzed a decoded PowerShell string contained within our logs. A quick review of this IOC alone confirms that this activity is, in fact, malicious. This is really, really powerful. We haven't even left the first page, and we already know it's going to be a true positive. Granted, we're going to want to investigate further, figure out the scope of the incident, but we have what we need to disposition this finding. So before we move on, we're going to assign this to ourselves. We're going to set the disposition, but we notice that the urgency is set to medium and not high. So let's double check the accuracy of that. Brand new detection engineering capabilities in ES give us the ability to easily modify a finding based on real-time intelligence. We look on the right, we can see that with new version control features, there were modifications that were made to this finding within the last week. So this is probably something we want our detection engineers to look at. Moving forward with our investigation, if you're currently a user of mission control, this should all be familiar to you. We still have our side panel open to track the initial finding. As you can see, all of the features and functions in MC are now included in ES and available to us here. All of our wonderful visualizations, like our beautiful MITRE attack map, which, speaking of, looking at this visualization alone serves as additional confirmation that this activity is malicious. Why? Because the MITRE tactics that are happening on this host are lit up like a Christmas tree. If we want to review additional information, we could do so below. And now that mission control's capabilities are included in ES, we can easily segue into an entirely different IR stream with a click of a button. SOAR gives us a significant head start on what we need to do to respond to this, efforts that must be made with haste. And if Eloise Bridgerton has taught us anything, it is that we must make haste. I was really hoping that would land. We have the ability to review events, run custom searches, and finally, we want to finish our investigation by taking the necessary remediation actions. Here we can see all associated SOAR playbooks that are related to the finding. So to recap, we already know this is a true positive. We know our response plan. And next, and arguably most importantly, we want to take the appropriate remediation action, which is to contain the host, which can be accomplished by executing the risk auto-contain playbook. Folks, we just executed an entire incident response process in a matter of minutes. This is a really, really big deal. If you are an analyst, you know that this is a big deal. If you are not an analyst, let me tell you, this is a really big deal. All of that accomplished in ES without having to open a single additional tab. This is the SIM of the future. The future is now with Splunk Enterprise Security. And Mike, this is what I wish I had in the SOC.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Wasn't she amazing? Let's give her a warm send-off. Thank you. So as you just saw, ES 8.0 is the next evolution in SIM and provides a streamlined investigation workflow for your analysts. It's in preview, private preview starting now, and it will be available as GA later in September. So we're really excited about this. Go look at the demo, it's awesome. Katie just showed you some of the amazing things that are happening here. So you heard about the improvements that are happening in the Splunk security product portfolio, and as Tom and Jeetu talked about earlier, there's some pretty exciting stuff happening as we integrate with Cisco. So let's take a closer look. Starting with what Jeetu was mentioning, we have the richness of Talos threat intel that's being brought into these Splunk security products. So this means that for enterprise security, you'll be able to automatically enrich information in your notables with Talos threat intel data. And we'll have a SOAR connector, so you can do the same thing when you're running a SOAR playbook and you have indicators of compromise that you want to have enriched. And finally, Attack Analyzer will automatically enrich information from the analysis reports to be able to check to see if any of the discovered IOCs were part of known in Talos threat intel. And Jeetu saved the best part for me, which is the good news is that this is available for free for Splunk customers of ES, SOAR, and SAA. We also have a demo in the pavilion of our XDR and enterprise security integration, so you should check that out. With this, customers get to extend their visibility. They get the power of XDR to be able to see deep into the network and see the events and the telemetry and user data that's being generated there, and then bring that as alerts into enterprise security to get the power of the investigation experience that we just showed you with Enterprise Security 8.0 to be able to fully investigate those. We're also working with the Cisco team on other integrations around things like Cisco Identity Intelligence, HyperShield, and more, so stay tuned. Earlier I said we're on a mission to provide a fully unified threat detection and investigation and response solution to help organizations quickly find and mitigate the threats that they care about. And you just heard about some of the product innovations that are bringing that to life. I encourage you to check out the comprehensive guide to Splunk Security Innovation session that's available later today. That's also, you can see that in person or on demand. So, before I go, I have one last thing to do, which is last night the team hosted our annual Boss of the Sock competition. How many people out here were in Boss of the Sock? Raise your hands. All right. Congratulations to everybody who participated. And of course, one of the fun things about a competition, even if it's a friendly one, is getting to announce the winners. So we had a lot of great participants. Let's talk about who won. In third place, and if you're on one of these winning teams, I'd encourage you to stand up. In third place, we have Hurricane Labs. If you're out there, Hurricane Labs. In second place, we had Make Results, Team Make Results. And in first place, I'm happy to announce that Team Consist was the winner. All right, I see some representation from Team Consist. All right. The bots did end at about 11:30 last night, and then I'm sure there was a little after hours, so not everybody might have made it this morning. So anyway, big thanks to all the Splunkers who worked really hard throughout the year to put together bots. It takes a lot of, it's a village effort, and so big thank you to everybody that helped make that happen. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce Patrick Lynn, our VP and GM of security, of observability, of security. I'm security. Patrick, come on out.
All right. Looks like I was gonna get another job here today or something. Everyone, it's great to be here to talk to you about what we're doing in observability. Now, as you all know, keeping systems up and running is pretty challenging, right? And it's been complex because of all the innovations that we've seen in the application architectures and the infrastructure, and it's only gotten more complex as systems have been repatriated from the cloud, and now you have all these hybrid applications out there, right? So that complexity is not going away. Take just a simple button on a website or any of hundreds of apps that you might be interacting with. It's a pretty simple thing for your end user, right? They just, for my cat, you just kind of click the button. But for all of us here, we know how much is behind that. The complex systems that are interconnected behind all of that, that make it so that you have to figure out, if there's an issue, where do you go in that big, big mess, right? Because with that mess, right, what is actually there? Well, it's a lot of complexity. You have a vast and complex digital footprint as Tom talked about, right? There are endpoints, there's applications, some third-party services that you tap into. Infrastructure that's residing in your data center or in the cloud. You might have networks that you've got to worry about, of course, right? And what happens when it doesn't work? Well, take a pretty simple mistake, right? Maybe I've taken the network interface on a VM that's hosting an application and misconfigured it, okay? Well, what might you see when that happens? Well, you could have some network bottlenecks. You should see increased latency. You might see slow page loads. All these things, right, might then show up as alerts, right? And how do you know where it is in that full stack where the problem is? And so what makes it especially difficult is that you are often also lacking in that stack full visibility across owned and unowned networks. You might only have partial visibility on the applications because you might have great tools for your traditional, but you might be missing visibility into the things that are more modern or cloud native. You might have requirements for your data sovereignty that have your tools sitting in one place, right, in your data center, or maybe partially in the cloud or cutting across both. But we think that there's a better way at Splunk, right? There's a better way to eliminate all of that chaos. Tools and processes that teams use to allow them to look at all that information, if you can do it from one place, to have all that data there, have all that context there, and have the right analytics and assistance from AI to really kind of shorten the distance to resolution, preferably before your customers actually notice. And with Splunk, you can. We are the first company to deliver observability for the entire enterprise. Splunk, now supercharged by Cisco, is bringing you full stack observability that you need to see across your digital footprint. Whether that is the owned and unowned or private and public networks, whether that's traditional applications or microservices, whether that's the mobile or web front ends, running on data platforms that are on-prem or in the cloud. Visibility into all of that, now coupled with proven and sophisticated analytics for earlier detection and faster investigation of issues based on their impact to your business. Now, we've been talking about full stack observability for some time because it is key to advancing your organization's digital resilience. And with a combination of AppDynamics, Splunk Observability Cloud, the Splunk platform, as well as ITSI, and all the great things we're bringing in around network monitoring, digital experience monitoring, and so on, we now have full stack observability to unlock unified visibility across any environment and any stack. Now, as a leader in observability, Splunk brings capabilities around microservices APM, cloud infrastructure monitoring. We've got some great digital experience monitoring as well. And of course, you know us for log analytics and incident response. And with our new partners in crime, we now have the ability to get great visibility into traditional or three-tier applications. We obviously have fantastic network monitoring. And all of that wrapped up together with AI Ops, that's something that no other company can deliver. Now, of course, we're moving very, very quickly to integrate these two portfolios to bring the best of Cisco and Splunk together for our customers, and we've already made tremendous progress. Now, earlier this year, we were named a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for APM and observability, and that actually was just Splunk on its own. Now, combined with Cisco, we're going to be able to redefine the game as the only company to bring observability for the entire enterprise. And it's going to get supercharged also by Gen AI. Now, you've got the quote from the analyst. Let's actually hear from our customers.
Insurance is an interesting thing. It's a relationship, right? You're trusting me to be there at your worst moment. If your property gets damaged, your home, your car, you're in a significant event. Oftentimes, one of the first people you talk to is on that insurance side. We have to have systems in place that help recover and lessen that impact. And I think the Splunk Progressive relationship over the past decade has been one of driving towards that goal. The one thing that's always growing is data, and the ability to get it into a central place and provide analytics and insights to it quickly, and having Splunk help us do that so we can focus on the insurance business, that's where I see us going in the future.
All right, please welcome to the stage Jonathan Moore, Domain Architect from Progressive, and Mimi Shalash, Regional Sales Director from Splunk.
Hello, conf24. The power of Splunk is the ability to correlate and aggregate data from different sources, because we all know a little structure can go a long way. But today, we're here to demonstrate that now a little context can go an even longer way. People are prepared for what's predictable because you measure what's easy. What's my CPU, memory, disk? How to get to Caesar's Forum. But John, what do you do in a world where measuring what's easy now creates more questions than answers?
Oh, great question, Mimi. And first, I'm very thankful to be here to represent the amazing people that I work with at Progressive and the technologies that we get to use. And I think it's a key point, like that stressful situation, right? When you measure what's easy, you might miss the context of what's really going on. And with Progressive and with insurance, we're often interacting with our customers in very stressful moments, and not only for them, but also our employees. Our claims application is a great example of how we handle that stress. When there's an accident, our customers have a variety of ways to reach out to us. They can use a website, they can use a mobile app, and even give us a call to be there for them. And without a well-performing digital experience, it's not going to help their stressful situation at all, right? So Splunk has given us this ability to start to see throughout this whole environment and given us insights that really allows us to integrate into our metrics, logs, traces.
Well said, John, as usual. Splunk's vision is observability for the entire enterprise, covering all user interactions across any application stack or environment, your data centers, your cloud providers, and your users. But John, we're so excited to hear from you on how Progressive is getting insights into these environments today.
Right, and what you see on the screen with synthetic transactions, we have a really good first layer to get some situational awareness, knowing a good baseline of what your application's doing before you start to see those anomalies trickle in. And with these, and when you see these, we can then also pivot into other tools within the portfolio, like Splunk Cloud, to start to see what might be really going on.
Right, because anomalies are great for problem detection, but we need data correlation and analysis, right?
Right, that's exactly right. And these complex environments aren't getting any easier with microservices, traditional backends, and for those in financial, right, mainframe? Anybody? Anybody? We need to be able to pivot through all these layers and get quick context into what's going on. And observability gives us those layers. And when those Slack messages start to fire off, you need some reassurance that you have the information that you need. And we need a connected view.
Yeah, let's take a look. In Splunk Cloud, we're seeing an increase in errors in one of the claims applications. And this doesn't look good, John, so what do?
We breathe. Having an integrated experience within our logs, also back into observability, we can pop into the APM system and start to really see what's going on. The observability lets us see this without having to do all that hunting through those logs. And then we can dig into the APM overview to really drive in to see what's going on. And the service map that you're seeing on the screen helps us understand what might be going upstream as well as the downstream consequences of those errors that we saw earlier. And understanding those dependencies are key. And guess what? With OpenTelemetry, we're able to see all of this. And being anchored in a standard like that and using tools like the Observability Suite, this all comes for free. It's out of the box.
I love that line. These maps are made up of traces. Traces mark the path of a user transaction through the system's architecture. I do think we need to double-click into Trace Analyzer, which identifies patterns to allow us to observe and filter on individual sessions. Because Splunk's backend doesn't sample, we'll get all the context we need.
Right, and what you're seeing here is you're seeing every single application transaction. So you're getting that granularity. You need to understand which ones are good, which ones might not be so good. And aside from, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Mimi, I'm talking over your part.
It's okay, you're passionate just like I am. But John, you mentioned backstage that Progressive also uses real user monitoring.
Right.
With RUM, we have the opportunity to see the sessions beyond the application's point of view. Let's just check there and make sure customers aren't being impacted.
And that's so important, right? This is the customer. We're here to service the customer. And what you see with RUM is there's some errors going on, but guess what? That transaction's completing. So our customer is able to file in their insurance claims and do what they need to do without being impacted. And what that gives us is gives us some time. So we do know that those queues are filling up, Mimi, like the application, some instability is happening, but We don't need help yet.
I love the positivity. I love that customers aren't being impacted, but why do we still see errors?
I see those errors too, Mimi. Okay. Calm down. We have time. We have observability, right? And Splunk Cloud points us to some of these anomalies and within our environment, and then bringing together the logs, matrix, traces in a unified platform gives us an edge. Back over in APM, we're able to see that even clearer. From this service map, we can see tags that are associated with the errors. And having that standardization, remember what I said about OpenTelemetry?
I do.
We're able to add some context to these transactions to help us get the granularity we need to understand what's really going on. Instead, tag Spotlight, I think it's starting to show where our problem might be.
Yeah, I see where you're going. This is where APM simplifies the investigation because we're provided the direct underlining infrastructure, which is going to take us, eventually we'll see, the supporting Kubernetes cluster. We don't have to switch tools or hunt for additional information. Essentially, we're following the data to see what is, or potentially what is not, running directly into a problem node?
Right, and as you drive into that node within the Kubernetes tools, we can start to see through visualizations and color coding that something is wrong here. The yellow's highlighting that, and all we have to do, Mimi, is put our mouse over there, and we're starting to see what our answer is.
Looks like memory pressure. Where have we seen that before? But let's scroll down into Kubernetes Navigator just to see if we can get additional context into what's causing the pressure.
And as we scroll down through this, we can start to see that there is a pod that's consuming all of our memory. Now I have everything that I need. I have to go reach out to those teams that can remediate this issue quickly and efficiently.
See, this is why we can't measure what's easy.
Right, because when you measure what's easy, you miss the context, and you really miss how it's impacting your customers. And that's something that we really have to remember with all of these tools at the end of the day. It's those customers that are most important to us.
Mic drop. You just connected from Splunk Cloud all the way through Splunk Observability and your customers in minutes. That's impressive.
That's right, Mimi. These tools are impressive. Thank you. Keep on. Come on. It's been quiet all day. Bring it up a little bit. No, it is an impressive tools. We don't need war rooms. I don't need to wake you up in the middle of the night. And guess what? I didn't have to phone a friend, and the business wasn't impacted.
Right on. And that's how you protect the brand of being an insurance company you can rely on. Now, John, we didn't cover it in the demo, but I know Progressive leverages AppD. Walk us through the use case and your thoughts on the announcements that were shared.
Yeah, AppD is an amazing tool. It allows you to see some of those more traditional applications. That's right, woohoo. It's going to be a long day. Bring it up now, so we can carry through what we're going to see later. But seriously, there you go, in the back room. AppDynamics is one of those tools that really been built for those traditional applications. And it does amazing work for Progressive, as we have everything everywhere. So being able to have a tool that a developer can quickly instrument an application with and get a view, like with speed, that's impressive. And now with some of the announcements of being able to have that ability of our development organizations, then tie it into the logs and that standardization that I talked about, that's giving us a new power that we didn't have before to get that context and really understand what's going on fast and know how to react.
That's a great point. I've heard you say before, metrics tell us what the problem is, traces tell us where, and logs tell us why. And in the demo, you mentioned that Progressive has leveraged standards. Walk us through how and why, and how that's helped with more effective troubleshooting at Progressive.
It's huge when you have a common standard, because it gives you common language. So when that bridge opens up and the war rooms are being staffed, you're all talking the same thing. When you have a standard application logging framework, you know the fields and what the data looks like. And when I think of things like AI too, the structure of data, that's going to become so critical for the customers of these platforms to be able to let those models be trained to be able to get us the insights we need for our business-specific models.
Yeah. What about OpenTelemetry with those standards?
Right. OpenTelemetry, like I said, it's out of the box. So if you're going to go down paths and you're integrating with new solutions, OpenTelemetry should be one of the first questions. Because how do you know that that investment is going to pan out? You need the observability. And if that provider, that partner you're working with, has OpenTelemetry in their DNA, you have the confidence that the data is just going to work, and you're going to be able to see it in tools like observability.
We love to hear that. Now, Splunk is very proud of its open standards with OpenTelemetry as a first-class citizen. But make no mistake, Splunk's backend is what operationalized the data. And on that note, what would help Progressive really take the cognitive load off of teams?
I love that word. Like, everyone in this room, we see demos today, we've had customers talk about it. One of the things that all of our people are struggling with, there's so much tech, there's so many environments, it's so fast, it changes all the time. And that cognitive load puts a lot of pressure on our teams. I mentioned the app dynamics. Our developers at Progressive, they want to develop code. They don't want to have to worry about the patterns and methods and ways to instrument an application so data gets logged appropriately. It needs to be easy. And it's exciting to hear the things about AI Assist, right? That support next to me, so that even the architect and the people in the back and with Progressive, they know, even the architect can go in and use these tools because I have the confidence of the assistant. I'm not going to ruin an input lookup.
Yeah. Well, you came to the right trace. But before we jump back into product announcements, how can the audience connect with you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to connect. You can find me on LinkedIn. And I'll be attending a session later today with one of my progressive colleagues that'll be talking more about observability.
Well, John, thank you so much. Please make some serious noise for John Moore, Progressive Insurance. And let's welcome back PCL.
All right. Thank you, guys. Wasn't that awesome? Now, Splunk and Progressive actually have a lot in common. You might not think that we do, because one's an insurance company, we make software. But Progressive actually encourages you to do defensive driving, which means you aren't just supposed to look straight ahead, right? You have to sort of know what's around you, the context. And that's how we approach observability. It's not about keeping your eyes just on that one silo thing that you've got, right? It's about making sure that you know what's going on for the entire tech stack so that you can detect those emerging problems and avoid potential incidents. Now, John and Mimi just showed us a lot about what the product currently does. And many of you in this room have had the opportunity to experience those things. But at the same time, as you've kind of gone through all of that work to make use of it, right, you've asked us for a variety of things. You've asked us to make sure we make OTel easier to manage, right? You've asked us to do things like, hey, bring the context to me. Why do I have to go look for that information when I know it exists somewhere in this application, right? You've asked us to make sure that we can actually help you control the data, very similar to what Faya talked about earlier around ingest processing, okay? And so we've done a lot with that feedback, right? And I'm very, very excited to show you a lot of what we've done to deliver based on that. So picture this, right? It's a typical evening. I know John doesn't have to be on call, but some of us do. And it's 1 a.m., and of course, we get an alert, right? And what happens when you go to an alert? You start to see what's there on your Splunk dashboard, of course. And you see, in this case, that there's a spike in the errors, right? Now, to dig into this, we start to look at the log messages, where we can see that there's a bunch of failed payments, right? But at this point, we don't know what's causing it, right? We don't even know if it matters. We don't know if it's like related to a service, a host, whatever, right? Instead of leaving us wondering, Splunk now brings all that context to us right where we are based on the data that we're keeping in a Splunk Observability Cloud. We can see detailed metric and trace data correlated right there with our logs side by side. And based on what's in our logs, I can call up related content on multiple entities, right? Hosts, applications, traces, services, clusters, pods, you name it, right? It's all right there at our fingertips, helping us move through triage and the process of elimination faster than ever before. But wait, there's more. If we want to investigate further, we can just drill down directly into more detail and additional tools for exploration in Splunk Observability Cloud. And we don't lose our place or have to log in again thanks to unified identity. And now that we're in Splunk APM, we can see where the problem is coming from. But we're also running against the clock here, right? And we definitely want to avoid losing time looking for different custom dashboards and waiting for different pages to load. And this is where service-centric views comes in. Now, we can easily visualize in one place all the critical data about a specific service, from the red metrics to the infrastructure metrics, application logs, traces, even service-level objectives, and any deployment events we may have, right? No more clicking around aimlessly. Of course, from here, we can also quickly pivot to capabilities like Tag Spotlight, which let us correlate that spike in errors that we saw earlier with other information that's in the system, like the version of the code that appears to explain the spikes. Now, it's been about 2 minutes since getting the alert, and we think we know the problem is, what's broken, and maybe that's enough, or maybe we go ahead and see if AI can help us out. Now, with AI Assistant in Splunk Observability Cloud, we're delivering a Gen AI-powered chatbot experience integrated into the Splunk UI. And so from, what's wrong with the payment service to why is the Kubernetes node down, we can ask any question to our AI assistant about the data that we've collected. And whether we're new Splunk users or experienced ones looking for confirmation, AI assistant delivers those insights and help us understand what's going on in our environment one sentence at a time. And in this case, it looks like it's arrived at the same answer we did through the other means. So I guess, at least for now, we're as smart as the AI, right? Pretty good. OK, so that was a super, super fast walkthrough of a bunch of the capabilities in context so you could see what an experience might actually look like. Now, I want to double-click on each of these because these are actually important product announcements. So the first thing that we started with here was about related content in Splunk Cloud, which is available today. This is something that brings the context from Observability Cloud to where you are searching for logs inside of Splunk Search and Reporting, right? So you don't have to switch to something else if you don't need to. We keep you right in the same context, and if it doesn't matter that that information is there, you kind of just continue on without having done another page load. Second thing we talked about here was APM service-centric views for all of the service owners in this crowd, right? What does it do? Well, it gives you the telemetry you need to better understand the performance of your services, traces, profiles, logs, red metrics, all the rest of that stuff. And I think the best part about this is that this is something where we've developed the best practice around this working with many of our customers. You don't have to go and set this up separately. You don't have to go and figure out how to get the right custom dashboard to bring all this information in. We've done that for you. And then, of course, we talked yesterday with Hao about the AI Assistant for Observability. This is just one of the many things that we're doing around AI. And in this case, we're allowing you to actually just chat with your data, right? And from there, surface insights about what's going on, surface correlations that might be very helpful to you when you are trying to figure out why something is down or something is slow. And also will help you, just like we do with SPL, we'll translate it into the language that we use to create charts and dashboards. And you don't have to remember the names of the dashboards or go read the manuals. Now, for those in the room who have looked at all this and said, OK, that sounds pretty great, but oh my God, is there a lot of data coming in? How do I deal with that vast volume of data? Well, we've also got an answer for you. Now, last year at Conf, we talked about metric pipeline management, which allows us to take all the metrics coming in, show you if it's being used, and then if you would like to, you can drop them, right, filter it out, or you can aggregate it down to a lower cardinality so that it is more efficient for you. Well, we're adding a new option this year with archive metrics, where you have the ability now to say, OK, those metrics I want to keep around just in case. And if I don't need them now, let's just put them off to the side. But if I want to rehydrate them, if I need them for real time, they're still there, and I can bring them in for use and for analysis. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff that we've announced here that I haven't had a chance to talk about. There's advancements in OTel. There's the advanced AI for ITSI, right? There's the configuration assistant for ITSI, service sandbox, so many great things. And so I want you to go make sure you take a chance to take opportunity to go into the Source Pavilion and check those out. Now, I started this whole talk by talking about the importance of observability for the entire enterprise. And one of the ways we're doing that is by integrating the strengths of AppDynamics directly with Splunk. Now, the goal for us here, besides bringing that full observability, is to make sure that the experience is as simple for you as possible. That's why these integrations are being built. And so part of this is, hey, from AppDynamics, you can go straight to the relevant logs through the integration that we have between AppDynamics and the Splunk platform. We've also made sure to integrate with AppDynamics and Observability Cloud in the look and feel to make it as consistent as possible so that when you're looking for the search button to go find the thing that you need in that particular application, you know where it's going to be, right? You don't have to kind of hunt around because the UIs are going to be very consistent. And we've also done the work to integrate AppDynamics along with IT Service Intelligence to bring performance metrics and alerts and so on into ITSI so that you have better and better end-to-end visibility for your IT health. Now, that's all we have for the product today, and if I was just to leave you with one thing, right, it's that building a leading observability practice is critical to your organization's digital resilience. And I want to make sure that you understand, right, if you're working with a partner, you have to figure out if you can, fix problems more quickly, do it without worrying about the cost of the data, and make sure that the providers you work with are giving you that visibility across the entire enterprise. Okay? And so, of course, to learn more about how Splunk can bring observability to your entire enterprise, feel free to go talk to our experts in the Source Pavilion, check out all the great demos we have. There are a bunch of awesome sessions like control your data, control your deployment, right? So I encourage you to go do that, and I think right about now, right? All right, so I'm happy to hand it back to Tom to close this out.
Man. Thank you. Thank you, PCL, and thank you to everybody who shared their stories today. You've heard about a lot of amazing innovation that's going on at Splunk. Things from like federated data management, federated analytics capabilities in the platform, asset and risk intelligence, enterprise security 8.0, the integration we're doing to bring you visibility into your traditional APM with App Dynamics integration, with Observability Cloud and ITSI, and then, of course, all that great integration of AI directly into the everyday workflows that you do. That takes a lot of work and a lot of coordination, and I'd love for you to join me for just a moment, putting your hands together for the product development teams delivering and working for you. And all the Splunkers out there, thank you for everything that you do. Join me as well, and please giving a great shout out here and a warm round of applause for all of the customers who shared their stories today. We love hearing from you. Please always keep your feedback coming. Engage on the show floor with us in the Source Pavilion. Find a Splunker in the hallway. There's research and product design is pushing a little like ice cream cart around, so you can find them and share your feedback, your stories, your asks. I don't think there's any ice cream, but you can figure that out. Go check it out. And then, today, again, you've heard about our product vision, about the momentum we have in delivering new value to you. And it's all in service of giving you broader visibility into your entire digital footprint. And now, our ability to execute on that vision is even better as part of Cisco because we can reach deep into Cisco's expertise in the network and what users are actually doing and how devices are interacting to bring you greater visibility, greater control over your environment, and put you in a better spot to be more resilient in all your digital services that you're delivering. We are really excited to be working on your behalf. We're pleased to be back with all of our Splunkers here in this wonderful community. We are grateful to all of you for everything that you do. Let's keep learning together, developing greater resilience together. Thank you all. We appreciate you.